So next on our tour of prehistoric Uinta Basin is Swelter Shelter. So this was excavated in the 1960s by Larry Leach as a part of the work that David Bredernitz did. This is something that you guys can find pretty easily online if you want to go through and see those technical reports. You can see images of all the projectile points that they pulled out. Those are like arrowheads and dart points. Some of the monos, metates, the grinding stones. And he also did a really nice job drawing some of the images up here. So as a part of that excavation, when you're looking now at this shelter, what you're actually seeing is the excavated surface. You're not seeing things as they looked when Larry Leach came here in the 1960s, and you're not even seeing things as they looked 1,000 years ago when the Fremont were here. If you look at the wall of the shelter, you can see a lighter area below a lot of the petroglyphs. That was where the ground surface originally was, and it wasn't oxidizing, wasn't exposed to the moisture in the air and creating that dark patina. So we'll talk a little bit more about this shelter, but just a history of the excavations and where you guys can find more information. So Swelter Shelter was one of these sites that was occupied again and again and again throughout history from about the middle to late Archaic all the way through the Fremont period. But people weren't staying here and living here for any extensive period of time. It was more like repeated visits. We can tell this by the collection or the assemblage of artifacts. There's nothing that really says daily life. And we can tell that people were coming here again and again and again, not only by the artifacts, but by the rock art. So here we have a lot of the rock art that is laying over top of each other or superposed. So someone came through early on in the sequence and wrote something that was meaningful to them on this shelter. And then after a period of time, perhaps their descendants, perhaps other people came and left their own mark again and again and again until it filled this wall with iconography, mostly of Fremont figures, so those trapezoidal classic vernal style figures. But it's really cool because we can see people coming again and again and again and paying tribute to the same spot. So at Swelter Shelter, people were using the hammer and chisel technique that leaves those peck marks that we see as petroglyphs today. People were also using a lot of paint. Interestingly, here at Swelter Shelter, the way people were painting is we have evidence that people were painting inside those peck marks. And it seems that we have at least 3 different colors. Now, whether that means different periods of time or the same artist using different colors on a palette, that's not clear. But what is clear is that they're applying the paints in different areas. So we have kind of a dark red that seems to be going in bands across the trapezoidal bodies of folks, and we've got that in a few different places. We also have a lighter red that's kind of an all-over body and face color. Then we also have a black, so maybe a charcoal as opposed to an ochre. And those are in lines, somewhat alternating with the red banding on some of the figures, and then a full body fill out of another one, including even filling some of the hands. So this is another thing that as archaeologists, we don't know. We can't get to the meaning of why people were painting the way that they were, but it's incredible that all these hundreds of years later, we still have this paint here, and we're continuing to take care of it today.
Hello, I'm Chris McFarland with the Utah SHPO, and we came to take some photos and some reels of the rock art on the panel itself. And I almost made a mistake by walking up and trying to set my jacket on this nice boulder that is on the back face of the alcove. And Elizabeth stopped me and pointed out that there is also rock art inscribed here. So it's something important to remember when you're visiting ARC sites, even well-established ARC sites like Swelter Shelter that have a barrier wall in front of the main panel, is you really never know what's around you. And to look at the stone and think about where you're stepping or where you might be sitting before you go ahead and take those actions.